Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds. It's time for Budget Bombs.
Powerful cards for under $1.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. I want to wish a quick happy birthday to everyone whose birthday falls on today. And if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com because it's the best possible way to do that. Everyday content, supporting birthdays, awesome polls on the community tab. There's a billion reasons to support us.
It's an extremely handsome host on top of all of that. Ooh, also, if you want to support us indirectly, you can use our TCGplayer affiliate link in the description below. They are honestly the best way to buy Magic cards. You go there, buy the Magic cards you wanted to buy anyway, because we're going to go over some cards here, and you're going to want to buy some. And guess what? There's going to be a link to all these cards, so you can just buy them all with one click.
Right, and if you want to buy other cards, or you don't want to buy all the cards, you can pick and choose what you want, and then as long as you started with our link, if you check out, boom, you're in Moneytown, for us anyway.
Yeah, you're helping out the channel you love while buying the cards for the game you love. Other ways to support us, last way to support us actually, dragonshield.com, EU and US links in the description below. Go buy the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And then, you know what? You get the sleeves, you put your cards in them. You're going to be so happy because they're amazing. And you supported this YouTube channel again and the handsome host.
The cards you want in the sleeves you want, from the hosts you want, it's perfect. So what are we doing?
Well, today is Budget Bombs, where we tell you some awesome cards for under $1. Now, some of these are good and only budget, but a lot of them are just good cards overall.
Yeah, if you're on a budget, you probably want to consider picking these up. They're also basically $0 because they're all under $1. A lot of these aren't even 50 cents.
Yes. So let's hop right into it. We're going to go in Wooburg order. We got 3 for each color, 3 multicolored, 3 artifacts, and then we got 3 lands for you. So first, in white, we have Bronze Guardian. This is a 5-mana star 5, and its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, and it has double strike. And that's all good and dandy, but the real strength of this card, I think, comes in from giving himself and all your other artifacts Ward 2.
Yeah, they're all going to be tougher to target. If there's any spot removal at all going at any of your stuff, it's going to be more annoying for them, and you're going to start getting mana and tempo advantage off of it. This thing just hits like a truck. It's going to be like a 10-5 with double strike. They have to block this.
So something that's really common for artifact and enchantment removal, there's a lot of 2-for-1s. There's the Heliod's Intervention, the Klaus Wills, the
Crush Contraband.
Crush Contraband type things. And if they target 2, like Return to Dust is probably a better example because it hits 2 artifacts. But if they target 2 of your things, they have to pay 4 extra in that case. And it really just shuts down those kind of cards that are not only good in Commander, but prevalent in this format.
Yeah, that's definitely going to shut those down. I just think, especially when you're in budget, any card that can sort of be like a one-man wrecking crew and then does other stuff, that is like the top of my radar. If you're in any artifact deck on a budget in white, I think you need this card.
I absolutely love having a way or 2 in your deck to give this trample. This isn't a budget card, but in my in my Brea deck that plays this card, I have a Shadow Spear. Throwing one Shadow Spear pumps its power already, and then it gives trample. It's got lifelink. The thing is absolute house when it has evasion tacked on to its already good abilities.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to give flying or trample on equipments that don't cost that much money. Next, we got a card that I'm always surprised is 33 cents. It's Knight of the White Orchid, and it's because it's been reprinted a bajillion times. It's white for a 2/2 first strike, and as long as you have less lands than somebody else, you get to go find a plains and just put it into play. It counts as dual lands, so you can get Godless Shrine Scrub Land, or you can even get, do you know the Snowfield Sinkhole?
Yeah, or you can even get not necessarily budget card, but you can get Triomes to really make these extra good fixing. This card is just 2 mana ramp in white. The only time this card can be a little rough is when you go first, but who cares? Some green player is going to play some ramp spell, and then you're going to be behind, and you're going to ramp with it.
Yeah, it almost always does its thing. It's very cheap. It's sometimes flickerable depending on where you're at in the game. I think this is just a rock-solid card. One of the best white ramp spells ever printed. At least we can say that, right? So if you're in a white deck, Boros, whatever, you don't have green, this is one of your best options, whether or not this card is broken or not.
And on top of all of that, it's a creature. So, white really cares about creatures a lot. Last thing before we move on with this card, lovers of the channel, people who have been watching for years, will know that we mentioned Knight of the White Orchid in an old video, probably 2 years ago. It was 70 cents then. It's 33 cents now. It's even cheaper.
Some people, I will be of the opinion lately that building budget decks now is easier than it almost has ever been. And people are saying it's harder and harder and harder as cards get more expensive. It's like, you got to know where to look because these precon cards that get printed every 10 seconds and are insane, like Bronze Guardian, Knight of the White Orchid, those are your budget cards now, not the card that was 50 cents and is now $10. Forget that card. We're looking at the reprint chaff that's like 20 cents.
I agree with you 100% on that. Well, speaking of putting, needed effects for every deck onto creatures, we have Cather Commando for 47 cents. It's 1 and a white for a 3/1. It has flash, pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy an artifact or an enchantment.
It's right up there with Kasali Pride Mage and Caustic Caterpillar, where this is one of the better ways to tack that effect on. It's all instant speed. I mean, I like this better than Caustic Caterpillar, which is not something I always say.
Yeah, and another thing about it is Flash is really good on this card. It bumps it from really good card to great card.
It gives you more choices, lets you hold up multiple spells.
I love that it has 1 toughness. Your white decks, they're playing Skull Clamp already. It has 1 toughness. Skull Clamp it when it's not going to kill something relevant.
I want all my creatures to have 1 toughness.
I know. This card is it's extremely strong, and it is premium removal on white, and it was just printed. And if this is one of those cards where if we don't see a reprint in the next year, it could easily be $2, $3.
It's already been reprinted once, but that doesn't count because double feature was like
trash.
The lamest set I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I actually took a survey about, and they asked me a couple questions about double feature, and I put everything as bad as I could. I'm like, I didn't like this.
Don't do it again. Next is a card that pretty much makes me groan every time I see it. It's Reconnaissance Mission, 72 cents. 4-mana enchantment. Whenever your creatures hit somebody, you draw a card for every creature. And then it also is cycling for 2 in case it doesn't do anything or you don't have creatures in play. It just doesn't. It's not a dead card. It's a new card.
Yeah, this card is very good. And the fact that it got reprinted recently in one of I think it was the Spirit Precon from a couple sets ago, awesome. This card is staying low, 72 cents. It is one of the best ways to draw cards when you're going wide or you have stupid dummies that can sneak through. Think of a ninja deck where you want to already play the 1/1 dummies. This is another way to weaponize those piece of junk creatures.
Or flyers or tokens or anything you're fine just sending to its death in an attack. It's so weird that we have like Coastal Piracy, Biden of Thassa, there's like Thopter Spy Network, I guess, and then there's this. How is this the best one? And it's 72 cents.
Yeah, this is the best one. I think that it is close and comparable because like Biden of Thassa, even when it's dead on the one side, it can potentially do something else.
Well,
but I think
kinda. Because if you have no creatures, why would I want them to attack? They're going to attack me.
That's fair. That is a completely fair thing. Yeah, Reconnaissance Mission is extremely, extremely good, and you should just pick it up while it's 72 cents. Again, don't risk it not getting reprinted in the next year and slowly going up.
And I think it already is slowly going up. I mean, when Ikoria came out, I doubt this card was 72 cents.
All right, up next, we have a Mana Rock. It's Midnight Clock, and it's 53 cents. It's a 3-mana Mana Rock that taps for just blue, but every upkeep, it gets, a time counter?
Hour counter?
I think it's an hour counter because it's 12 hours. So it gets an hour counter. Then, once there's 12 hour counters on it, you exile it, you shuffle your graveyard, hand, into your library, draw a fresh new 7. This is a great way to refill, and it's also a Mana Rock for like 3 straight turns.
Yeah, Mana Rocks have to do a lot to be justified at 3 mana, and this does, there's no Mana Rock that does anything like this. It does a ton. As long as you can empty your hand, which you could probably do over the course of 3 turns. I don't know how you can't. This then just gives you draw X cards, where X is the number of cards in your hand that is less than 7. Like, if I had 2 cards in my hand, I just draw 5 for 0 off my Mana Rock. It gets 4 hour counters per turn cycle. So it's 3 turns.
Yeah, I want to be, something really important to state about this card is make sure your deck isn't already really good at card advantage. If your deck is incredibly good at card advantage, this can actually be bad for you. I'm playing it, and I still am, but I'm going to be taking it out of my Ninja deck because my Ninja deck is so good with card advantage.
You got the Reconnaissance Missions.
Yeah, you got the Reconnaissance Missions. I'm able to draw cards. My commander gets me card advantage, and I'm never running out of resources. I've had this just be like, oh, dang it, I'm getting rid of more resources than I want to and drawing random cards, and I don't want that. In the decks that, lack it a little bit more, then this card is great.
Or maybe in a deck where you can, like, sacrifice this and you're fine with it being an artifact and a Mana Rock. There's a lot of homes for Midnight Clock.
Oh, it's a great card.
I think this next card also has a lot of applications, even though it looks just like a tiny little mini version of Reconnaissance Mission. It's Curiosity. You enchant a creature, and whenever it deals damage to a player, you draw a card. But the best part about this 33-cent card is that it says damage and not combat damage. So what I want to do is put it on a creature that hits every opponent whenever I do something, like a Gutter Snipe. So whenever I'm casting a spell, basically, I'm drawing 3 cards.
Yeah, that's exactly why I love this card. If you have an effect like that, if you have, even like in a pirate deck, your Lightning Raid Crew, tap, draw 3 cards, that just adds so much power. This is an underplayed card, I think. I think as soon as you have 2 or 3 of those effects in your deck, you're in on this card. And sometimes you don't draw them. You could put this on someone else's creature that does that kind of effect. I saw that in a game where somebody played a Gutter Snipe, then it came around to somebody else, and they played, they just put on the Gutter Snipe their Curiosity and just went crazy with drawing cards.
Yeah, it's not optional, so what are they going to do? Not cast spells? Like, that works for me, too. I think you want a lot. I think you want to be able to do this consistently. But if your commander is something like Vial Smasher, where one of your commanders or your commander can do it, then I'm way higher on this. I'm not super in on just hitting with a creature and drawing one card.
Oh, yeah, exactly. 100% could not agree with you more. You want to make sure this is a little more than just when this creature hits, I draw. All right, time to shift gears to our third color now, and we're into black, and it's Ravenous Chupacabra at 87 cents. 4-mana creature, 2/2, enters the battlefield, destroy target creature. This is one of the most efficient ways for creature decks to both get a creature and destroy something. The only thing that's even close to this is like Shriekmaw, but I think Choop's hitting everything just puts it like that much better. I love this card.
Yeah, Shriekmaw can cost 2 and it has fear, but it doesn't hit black creatures, and this just hits everything all the time.
This is a card that keeps going like this, like in price. Like it's like 50 cents, $1.02. 70 cents, it just bounces up and down. Right now it's 87 cents. Can easily just keep going up over $1. I love that this card is seeing some reprints, and I think it should continue because it is absolute commander staple. It's not broken. It's just good.
Yeah, it's just a rock solid card. Does it see play in the higher power levels? Not really. Is it perfect in budget? Yes. Does it synergize with the creature decks? All day, baby.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Ravenous Chupacabra. Like you said, black and white and green. Those 3 colors. Love having creatures out. And, well, this one's in black, which is one of those 3 colors. You just add in, like, your Midnight Reapers, there's so many effects that just care about creatures. Anything that sacrifices a creature. There's so many of these different effects in black that I will pay the extra 2 mana to kill a creature because it synergizes with my deck.
Oh, I'm so glad Joe put this next one on the script because I love it, and I did not know it was 22 cents. Necromatic Selection, 7 mana, a little pricey, destroy all creatures, but then you get to choose one of them that was destroyed this way and put it onto the battlefield under your control. It's kind of a niche board wipe. Certain decks, though, it is insanity of how insane this card is.
I mean, the decks that are centered around the commander, like your Skullbriar deck, you want everything
nasty.
Get everything else off the board, everything else, and then bring Skullbriar back. Now no one has any blockers. You're just going to go crazy.
You're just going to kill somebody, actually. It's not even like crazy. It's like you're dead.
Yeah, and on top of that, I want to mention I am 90% sure, and I have talked to many people about this, but if you're better rules, if you're a judge, I'm 90% sure you could take commanders with this because the spell all resolves at once, and the creature does go to the graveyard, and before they have a chance to choose where to put it, you can put it on the battlefield under your control. If we're wrong about that, tell us in the comments below.
Right, it's a bonus. Maybe it's a budget bomb when it does that, and it's a budget bomb when it doesn't do that.
It's
but
still a
really
strong
good
card.
You just take the best thing. Oh, your Diluvian Primordial died. I'll take one. Oh, your Sepulchral Primordial died. I'll take one. Oh, your Grave Titan died. I'll take something else. But, a lot of things work with it.
Absolutely just 100% a great budget board wipe. I mean, board wipes are, like, a lot of them aren't cheap, especially in black where, your best, like, 3 are, like, super expensive.
Yeah, I know it's expensive. Play some other cheaper board wipes to mitigate that. But once you cast this, you're living in fantasy world.
All right, next is a card that has consistently surprised me with how relevant all of the words on this card are. It's Changeling Outcast for 44 cents, and it costs 1 black for a 1/1, but it's unblockable, and it can't be blocked. It can't block itself, but it's a changeling, meaning it's all creature types. That is where this thing comes in, because I think that there's a card that is extremely similar. It's
Tormented Soul.
Tormented Soul. It's the same exact card. Not a good card at all. Horrible, I think. But the fact that this is all creature types gives it synergies in so many different decks. Ninjas absolutely loves this card. This is a 1-mana ninja that can be ninjutsu'd out, can't be blocked. Perfect for a deck like that. I was looking up some decks that are playing this. We had Malcolm and Timna. Oh my goodness. It's already great with Timna. Now add in the fact that it's a pirate for some unknown reason. It's so awesome. I love this card.
Yeah, it just does a lot of different things. I had it in I built a Spirit Tribal deck for mystery reasons that you may or may not find out. And it was good there too. It's just like, all right, chip in some damage, trigger all my stuff that cares about spirits, and then I'll just sack it or equip Skull Clamp to it and just get it out of here.
Yeah, I 100%. It's so many little things. This card is the least exciting card probably on this whole entire list.
Probably.
It is so boring, and it's so mundane, and it looks like, why? Why do I care about this card? Next time you have any synergies with it, especially if it's a synergy with your commander, put it in the deck and see how it works out.
It's cheap, and it can't really. I don't think it really disappoints. I mean, 1 mana 1/1, if it's just chipping in for 1, is nothing. So as long as your deck can say it's not that, I think it's a pretty good card. And I think the fact that it can't block, don't even read that part, because blocking is overrated already.
All right, we're moving on to red now. It's a card that I absolutely love, and it's all about being a combat meta. 100%, because outside of that, don't play this card. It's Agitator Ant. It's 15 cents, 2 in a red for a 2/2 at the beginning of each end step. Every single player can put 2+1/+1 counters on any creature they control. If they do, that creature is goaded until your next turn, meaning you just get 2 counters for free, and all your opponents, well, they want to keep up with your board. You're making your board bigger. They don't want to not be able to do anything. They put it on some of their creatures, and they're attacking and doing a ton of damage. It is a lot of goading. I actually think that you should talk with the other players when an opponent has one of these. Go, none of us take anything, or else we're going to start beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, and to the level of, oh man, this other person who has Agitator Ant is at like a 20-point life advantage because we all have 6/6s. The stupid wood elves just keep bashing in for like 7 damage, and it just adds up so fast. And you're like, how did this get so out of control?
Yeah, and I think what I really like about this card is that on the floor where nobody's taking counters ever, it's still decent. 2+1/+1 counters every single turn on your end step. It's slow. It's not great.
But on a creature you want, not just the ant, because that would be terrible.
Exactly. Like, you want synergies, and that's why I think this card doesn't see a lot of play. How many red counters decks are there? Not many until we got Toshiro.
There's more now, yeah.
Yeah, Alana, Elena, and Toshiro made for way more of these decks than there were before, and I think Agitator Ant is just a card you should be playing in your red counters decks.
Yeah, Boros probably wants it too, or they're just like, I'm just trying to beat people up. I think this is one of the actual true to the aggro strategy and good in commander cards, because aggro falls off so hard. Yeah. And I've just been so excited whenever I see a card that like actually makes aggro better in commander, because there's not a lot of cards that do it. People say there is, there's not. Up next, this card, honestly, in any situation where we're on a budget or playing a restricted card pool, this card destroys people. It's Sunburst Invocation, 59 cents. We have it in the Commander Cube. I think it's one of the best red cards in our Commander Cube. I have it in a $50 budget deck that I may be playing somewhere. And it's insane in that deck, too. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, you get to look at X cards from the top of your deck, where X is the mana cost of the spell cast, and just cast it for free. So all your spells are just 2-for-1s.
Yeah, exactly. The weakness of this card is obviously it's 6 mana.
Big investment.
It's a big investment, and usually it requires an untap. I think this pairs well in green, where you can get to the manas where you have 6. Well, you have way over 6. Where you have like 10, 12 mana, so you can go use half your mana on this, and then the other half to cast a big spell and get an advantage.
Or cast it on turn 4 before anybody's like trying to remove things or trying to develop, then just cast a spell after that.
Yeah, I like Sunburst Invocation a lot. The advantage, the longer this card stays out, the more insane it gets. You have to answer this card quickly, or it'll snowball into just like, how do we beat him?
One of my favorite things with this is untapping with it and then slamming a really big creature threat and then getting another big creature threat. It's like, oh, well, what do you want to do now? It's like, well, now you've got bigger problems. You've got 20 power and creatures on the board. You have to board wipe. I'll just keep the Sunburst Invocation and develop afterwards.
Yeah, you asked, what do you want to do now? Cry, actually. Cry, because it's so backbreaking. BZ, what if I told you this next card came out about 6 months ago now?
Oh. What if I told you it single-handedly lost me a game?
It did. On Shuffle Scuffle. It's Reckless Endeavor, and it's 65 cents. 7 mana, roll 2 d12s, and based on the results, one of them is the amount of damage you do to each creature on the battlefield, and the other one is the number of treasures you get. You have to accept with this card, we've said this a couple times, that you will get crappy rolls like BZ did, a 1 and a 2.
And it's probably only like 5% of the time, because a lot of the average rolls are very good.
Yeah, I mean, even the low rolls, a 1 and a 7 is still a pretty good.
A 4 and a 4 is good.
Yeah, it's like, this card is definitely extremely strong because its average is good, because 6 and 7 is the average.
Right.
And that is a bonkers card. So if the average is good for the card, then the card is going to be good.
I think making people like recoil away from this card a lot is that it costs 7 mana. And we always want our board wipes to cost less than 7 mana. But if you actually go through the process of resolving this, it cannot cost 7 mana. There's no universe where this card costs 7 mana. Most board wipes, we like that they're undercosted because we want to double spell on like turn 7 and 8. It's not like we're playing a board wipe on turn 4. That's not what it is. Reckless Endeavor gives you treasures back, always at least 1, and up to 12, where This spell, a lot of the times, is 0 mana or 2 mana. And then now we're reading that card. It's insane.
I think that was the best way to word that because 100%, this is never a 7 mana spell. Never, ever, ever. You're always getting some amount of mana back. You can't get 0. You can only getting 1 back. Yeah, that sucks, and that's not a very good card. But it's still better than if you didn't get 1 back.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't look at this like a 7 mana play because that's around the time you cast board wipes anyway, and it always refunds you. This next one might be one of my favorite budget cards of all time just because of how insane it is. It's Kenras Transformation, and I just recommend right now every single human being playing budget should put this in their green decks. 44 cents. 1 in a green enchantment, enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and the enchanted creature is a 3/3 with no abilities. Here is a heat-seeking missile coming for whatever the most annoying commander is.
Yeah, I can't get over... This card is insane. I mean, I can't get over how good this card is. It hoses me all the time. When you're in your blue-black decks, your Grixis decks that have very few answers to enchantments, your commander just gets locked, and it stinks. And, it might not be the most fun sometimes, but this card, I can never deny how strong this Magic card is every time I see it. I think it is not just good green removal. It is great green removal. Some of the best green removal you can play.
Can we call it the green swords to plowshares so that we clickbait it?
It is. I mean, this card's insane. It is like top... If for green creature removal, it might be number 2.
Right.
After Beast Within. That's it.
Right. Yeah, Song of the Dryads is very similar to this. It's way more expensive, and I think a lot of the time this gives you a similar effect. They're going to have to... With Song of the Dryads, they can remove it in such a way that the creature comes back. But with this, if they're going to sacrifice it, the creature's gone. If the board gets wiped, the creature's gone. If Kenras Transformation goes away, yep, creature's there. But a lot of the things that are true about Song aren't true about Kenras to make it a little bit better. I don't know which one is literally better. I know this card's 44 cents, and in every budget deck, staple auto include.
Yeah, exactly. Mono green, I feel like what mono green deck, budget or not budget, that's not going for the super high competitive stuff, doesn't want this card. It's almost none.
2 mana, shut down a commander, draw a card.
All right, looks like we're getting the ones we really like because this next card is a card I just come around on
so good.
To be like not only good, but great in Commander. It is Incubation Druid, and it's 92 cents. It is a 0/2 for 2 that taps for 1 mana, but if it has a counter on it, it taps for 3 mana. The whole key to this card, because it has the ability to put counters on itself, but that's a lot of mana, is just to have ways to put counters on the cards.
Do it yourself.
And it is absolutely insane. A 2-mana dork that taps for 3 is really not just strong, it's incredibly strong.
I mean, it's Gilded Lotus, but when you put a counter on it, it's like it kind of had haste because it's already going to tap for mana. This card is really, really good, and I don't think it's going to be a budget bomb for very much longer, even though I think it got reprinted in some kind of product lately. But whenever I play this, I'm always happy with it, especially on a budget. 2-mana dorks, they're just fine. They're not going to destroy the game, but I'm happy to have them a lot of the time when there's upside. This has a ton of upside.
Yeah, the floor is not very good. The 2-mana dorks, they're meh.
It's playable.
They're playable, but they're not great. That's the floor, though. The floor is not great, but you'll play it. The ceiling is 2-mana dork that taps for 3 mana. In the decks that can make it that, holy crap, I've been nothing but impressed with this card every single time I play it.
I mean, nobody else can play that card. When I can do that on my mana dork, okay. Nobody else gets that rate.
I mean, one of my favorite curves that I had recently was play this, untap, tap 3 mana, not the Incubation Druid, Generous Patron, put a counter on it, put a counter on one of my opponent's thing, draw a card, and tap it for 3 more mana to double spell that turn.
Ooh, Incubation Druid into Agitator Ant?
Into Agitator? Oh my, and just all you gotta do is have an instant and you're paying it off right away.
This next one's also one of my favorite budget cards, and I don't know if it's just me not seeking out enough Magic content, but I don't see enough hype around Masked Vandal for 24 cents. I still, after all this testing, think it's on par with or better than Reclamation Sage. It's 1 in a green for a 1/3 Changeling. All creature types are super happy to have this. Enters the battlefield, you can exile a creature from your graveyard, and you can exile an artifact or enchantment. On any turn that's after turn 4, this is absolutely better than Reclamation Sage. And overall, oh man, so many more benefits to having every creature type on this thing.
Absolutely. I think there's a ton of upside to this card. It often plays better to Reclamation, like you said, and that's a staple of this format. The only weakness to this card, and the only downside, and I'm not even saying don't play this card because I think it's great, is when you're playing against Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace. These 2 cards, they exile graveyards, and they're you really want to answer them usually in a deck that wants Mass Vandal, and it doesn't do that. That being said, after that little tiny bump in the road, this card is amazing.
I would argue that bump in the road is non-existent in budget builds. If everyone's bringing a $50 deck to the table, I would question why someone's playing Leyline of the Void.
It's completely fair. I wouldn't even argue. This card, but like I said, I don't think Mass Vandal is necessarily a budget card. I think it's just a good card.
Oh yeah, it's just a great Magic card that I'm happy to port into my budget decks.
All right, on to artifacts, and we have a card that wasn't budget for a long time. Well, wasn't budget bomb, I should say, for a long time, but now it is, and it's Mindstone at 77 cents. Yes, please. Mindstone is an absolute auto-include for me in my 1 and 2 color non-green decks every time.
I think it's fair to say I'm addicted to Mindstone. I play it over almost every other 2-mana rock, even when it's questionable. Like, I obviously have to put Arcane Signet first in like my 2-color things, but then I'm like, all right, Mindstone, I don't care. Oh, do I need a maximum hand size Thought Vessel? I don't care. Mindstone's in first. Now I'll find room for Thought Vessel. I love the fact that it cycles. It's never, ever, ever, ever a dead Magic card. Not many Magic cards can say that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Mindstone is just a very good 2-mana rock. It starts falling off, obviously, once you hit your 3 colors. You don't really want it there because it's not making colored mana. But in 1 and 2 colors, there's not really that mana struggle too much. So just get the Mindstone in your deck. It's like you said, it is one of my go-tos. When I start typing up a deck or throwing stuff into a deck, when I go, okay, let's do the ramp, it's like Arcane Signet, Mindstone. Literally in that order, just like you said.
Absolutely. Card's amazing. Put it in your budget decks. Next, one of my all-time pet cards, honestly. Perpetual Timepiece, 51 cents. There's no card like this. It doesn't exist. 2-mana artifact, tap, mill 2, exile it. Doesn't have to tap for that. Shuffle any number of cards from your graveyard into your library. So it's a nice little graveyard protection on what is basically just dredge 2 every turn. But you still get your draw step. Some of the dredge creatures are so awkward because they suck. I don't want to draw Golgari Thug every turn. Not really. But if I just take 2 in my graveyard every turn, I'm in for that. This card is really, really, really good if you want cards in your graveyard.
Yeah, it's all about fueling your graveyard. This is an artifact that does that. And like the real upside to this card that I don't think a 2-mana artifact that mills you for 2 every turn would be very good. The upside of protecting your graveyard from graveyard hate is what takes this card from like meh to like, okay, I'm in to actually start playing this now.
Yeah, I'm not playing Shriekhorn in my deck. No thanks. This kind of just stays in play all game, especially because they could try to kill it, but then you can just get the effect anyway. Shuffle some of your better cards that you want to redraw in your deck and move on with your life, and it's like they did nothing. But I love the fact this is one of the most, I think, efficient ways to fill your graveyard, especially for budget. I mean, in colorless, to mill yourself, there's like Mesmeric Orb, which is okay, but it mills everybody, so you might be getting some net negative. This always just mills you. It's always there when you need it. I would urge people to try it out.
All right, now we're moving on to Heirloom Blade. 3-mana artifact. It's an equipment. 1 to equip. The creature gets +3/+1. When that creature dies, reveal from the top of your library until you reveal a creature that shares a creature type with it. Put the rest in the bottom in any order and put that creature into your hand. I figured out what I want to compare this to. I think this is super fair. Skull Clamp. Super duper fair. But it also always draws you something that's gassy.
Yeah, there's a little wrinkle that is not on a lot of Magic cards where you can sort of build around this in a weird way to like stack your deck when you know that a certain creature is dying. Like, well, I know I have 2 warriors in my deck, so I'm going to get this card or this card. All right, let's prepare for that. I think this card is really, really good if you're not like comboing and making infinite mana and stuff. With lower powers, budget, the stat boost becomes relevant because combat's more of a thing. And I just think the dice trigger is great. Like, you always draw, in a tribal deck, you always draw another member of the tribe. Guess what? Airloom Blade just goes right on it for 1 mana. And we're back to square one.
Absolutely. And this card just overperforms every time I see it. It looks like it's just medium, but you add in sack outlets, ways to sack on demand. Now you play like a 1-mana creature, equip it for 1, get it off the battlefield with a sack outlet, and then draw something better.
Yeah, and you can just kind of churn through your library really quick. I love this card. I think it's super interesting. It's very unique. There's not a lot of cards that do this. Let's move on to multicolor and Showdown of the Skalds. 53 cents for a saga. It's 4 mana. Chapter 1, you're exiling top 4 cards of your deck, and then until the end of your next turn, you can play those cards. And then chapters 2 and 3 is whenever you cast a spell this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Very deceptive. Just kind of just like word soup, rare for standard, but this card is card draw in Boros, and I don't know if people know that.
It's not just card draw. It's 4 cards.
4 mana draw 4, at least draw 3.
4 mana draw 4 is very, very strong. And let's just say you hit 3 lands, so you're not going to be able to play them all off the top.
That's draw 3. You play 1 right away, then you play 1 next turn, and you play the spell.
But you also, Also, bonus to it, it's not just step play 3. Now you don't have to draw the extra land that you didn't want anyway.
Yeah, this card is pretty good to the point where if I'm in Boros and on a budget, I don't know how I'm not playing this card. It's really efficient. I mean, what started getting me on its radar is I saw it creeping into like weird modern brews, and I'm like, if this can do anything in modern, we got to look at it for just how efficient it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it puts counters. If you care about the counters, you care about putting
Even better.
Put counters on your creatures. There's just extra synergy to go along with this card. It's just the fact that this is so much card draw for a Boros deck is insane. You just don't see it in Boros. Next is a card I haven't played much, but I've seen BZ play it, and it's always good because it's one of the cheapest ways to give all your creatures haste. It's Fires of Yavimaya for 46 cents. 1 red, green enchantment that says all your creatures have haste, or you can sacrifice the diva creature +2/+2. That's flavor text. You're almost never doing that.
None of that matters at all. I think it doesn't even really matter if this is Fires of Yavimaya. This is the cheapest way to give all your creatures haste. It's in a red-green deck. I'm playing this in all my red-green decks because it's the best way to do that. It's just creatures you control have haste, plus some flavor text that might matter every once in a while. Great card.
All right, up next is Hurl Through Hell, an overcost removal spell. 2 red, black, exile target creature. Until the end of your next turn, you can cast that creature, meaning if there's a big threat on the battlefield, exile it and put it into play under your control.
Either it's during your turn because this creature needs to go ASAP, boom. Then you probably have to wait till your next turn if it's a big boy. Then you cast it on your next turn and, oh, great. You want to answer this? I don't care. I got it with my removal spell.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about this card is it's instant. It makes this card so much better.
Sorcery is garbage.
Yeah, absolute garbage, this card. So you wait until, right before your turn, and then you pick the best threat. You go, what is the thing I need to get off the battlefield? Or what is the thing that maybe I don't need to get off the battlefield, but if it was on my side, it would be completely insane.
Yeah, what do I want? This card's very good. Definitely a high performer. I'm playing it over like Terminate all the time, even in budget decks.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also like Terminate's like it's more mana efficient, but the 2-for-1 potential here, and not just 2-for-1 potential. Depending on the creature you get, you're talking 3-for-1, 4-for-1.
Give me the juice. Next, we're moving on to lands. It's the last little category. We got the tapped artifact lands. All the bridges. They range from 15 cents to 50 cents. And are tapped. They're indestructible, and they produce 2 colors.
Yes, I am playing a 4-color Brea deck. And I am playing 6 of these lands that come in tap. They're my only tap lands in the deck. Worth it almost every single game. There are so many cards that count your artifacts, have affinity for artifacts. There's just a million different little artifact synergies that make these worth playing, and they're so cheap. I'm not even on a budget for my Brea deck, and they're still insane in that deck.
Yeah, the fact that these lands are artifacts in addition to their types just make all your other cards tick and trigger that many more times. Play these in your budget artifact decks. That's all I need to say.
I think one more thing about these to mention is that on top of everything else, that these are not susceptible, like, normal artifact lands, the untapped ones, they're susceptible to like, Bane of Progress. Oh, crap, now I lose some lands too. These are not, because they are indestructible, and that is a huge upside for them.
Next land, it's a card I play in like every deck ever. It's high market, 67 cents. Tap for colorless or tap sack creature to gain 1 life. Sack outlet on a land, we basically don't have those for free. It's this and Phyrexian Tower all day. Play those cards every chance I possibly get. If my deck wants cards to die at all, these are in my deck.
Yeah, and it's on a land slot. You got to play your colorless land in here, but it says gain a life. That doesn't matter. This is just tap to sacrifice a creature. That's what we want out of this land. We want to make sure that we're not getting caught in situations where our commander gets exiled. Say you're playing, remember you had a Junji deck. You don't want Junji to get exiled. That means you don't get any effect and you get nothing out of them. Leave up this here. Now they go for the path to exile. No. I'm going to sacrifice it and get the effect I wanted anyway.
Another thing I like about this card is that when you have a creature that wants to die and you want it to die as soon as possible, it functions like any other sack outlet. The cost is sacrifice a creature. So if I play Protean Hulk, let's say, the most dramatic example, well, I still have priority. So when it resolves, sack it, and I'm going to dominate the game.
You'll probably win.
But they can't stop it. It's dead. Like, the trigger's on the stack. Do something now or you lose.
Yeah, stifle it or lose.
Right, and then there's any other number of things like Kakusho. Triggers on the stack. I'm going to gain 15 life.
And last but not least, we have Exotic Orchid. I just keep realizing this card is just really, really good in any 2-color and up deck. I am happy to throw it in almost any one. It's a rainbow land. A rainbow land, essentially, most of the time, that you just get to throw in all of your cheap budget decks. I love this card. I'm throwing it in non-budget.
It's just a Commander staple, and Wizards decided to print it in the ground for some reason. Thanks, Wizards. Here we go. 22 cents. for a card we're always going to play. Just make sure not to forget about it when you're building your deck.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be a card that I never thought to put in my decks, and now it's like, all right, start typing up my lands. We're going Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, and then
Mana Confluence.
we got our fetch lands, or and all that stuff. But this is up there like with one of the first ones I'm putting in. But that is our video. Special shoutouts to every single one of our patrons. These are the people that go to patreon.com and support us directly. And oh my goodness, do we appreciate you more than you know.
You make this a hobby into a job, which is what I want to do with my life.
Which is, you worded that perfectly. You certainly didn't get caught up on your words at all.
I didn't add an A. Don't even rewind it. But if you do, joke's on you, because then we get more watch time.
Yeah, and if you want to support us in other ways, indirectly, TCGplayer.com. Use that link in the description below. See all of these cards, buy them. And guess what? The nerds get a kickback, and you spent $0 extra.
Dragon Shield, go buy custom sleeves, go buy regular sleeves, go buy playmats, go buy any product they sell, because it's all high quality. I would almost argue that they're the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
So go over there to the affiliate link, and then we are going to get some percentage of that sale thanks to you.
Okay, tidbit about our lives. I don't really have anything specific, but I was thinking about this earlier. I just recently got another one of the really nice messages where somebody tells me that me being representation is nice, and that always makes me feel really good. And I always want to just point out, I am a gay content creator.
I mean, a lot of people just don't know that. I would guarantee half the people watching did not know that.
Yeah, I'm quote-unquote the straightest gay guy out there.
He is, but guess what? He's gay.
Very gay.
So if you want to talk to him about it, DM him on Discord.
Well, I talk to a lot of people. I mean, I'm willing to talk to people. I like that I'm representation. I never thought it would be something I would be, and I absolutely love it. You got anything else you want to add to this tidbit?
I'm really tall, so if anyone wants to message me about being tall, I got you.
BZ is super tall. I mean, you can see it just from a sitting. He's 6'6". I'm 5'9". But I remember like an episode like a while ago, you stood up because the Obi-Wan fell off that shelf back there.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!
Oh my god, he's so tall. How tall is he?" He's 6'6".
You now know pretty big facts about me and Joe.
Yeah, BZ's tall. Joe's gay. Peace out, Tribe Scout.